Just happened. Spain overwhelmed by Princess Leonor Emotional Royal Wedding 2025. Spain expected a royal celebration. But no one expected this. Not the tears. Not the silence in the cathedral. Not the nation, holding its breath. As Princess Leonor, the future queen, walked down the aisle. And history itself stood still. The bells of Madrid rang out before dawn. The air was cool, heavy with anticipation. From every corner of Spain, people gathered, on balconies, in plazas, along quiet cobblestone streets, to witness what would become the defining royal moment of a generation. This wasn't just another royal wedding. This was the day Spain saw its princess become a woman, a wife, and a queen in waiting. For months, whispers had filled European royal circles. Would Princess Leonor, the poised and private heir to the Spanish throne, truly marry for love? Or would duty, tradition, and diplomacy shape her future, as it had for so many royals before her? The answer unfolded beneath the golden arches of the Royal Palace Chapel, in a moment that melted the line between monarchy and humanity. The streets outside the royal palace were oceans of color. Spanish flags rippled like waves. Children wore paper crowns. Old men clutched photographs of King Juan Carlos and Queen Sofia, their eyes misty, remembering past eras. And then, the first royal cars appeared. Queen Letizia stepped out first, her composure immaculate. Her eyes, however, betrayed the weight of the day, equal parts pride and disbelief. King Felipe followed, every inch a monarch, yet clearly the father too, walking with quiet gravity. But the air changed when Princess Leonor's carriage came into view. The crowd erupted, not with noise, but with emotion. Many didn't cheer. They simply stared, their faces wet with tears. Because inside that glass carriage was more than a royal heir. She was Spain's hope, its bridge between old and new. And today, she was glowing. Her gown shimmered in soft ivory tones, embroidered with symbols of unity, Castile's tower, Leon's lion, and Aragon's chain. Each stitch told the story of her nation. Each bead caught the morning light like a promise. As the carriage rolled to a stop, Leonor paused, took a deep breath, and whispered something only her father could hear. A moment later, Philippe's eyes reddened. No one knows what she said. But that single exchange would be replayed across every news outlet in Europe, an intimate fragment of a day filled with emotion. The cathedral was silent as Leonor entered. Her steps echoed like soft music across the marble floor. The air smelled of lilies and candle wax. Waiting for her at the altar was Crown Prince Christian of Denmark, the man who had, against all odds, captured her heart. Two heirs to two thrones. Two young royals raised under the weight of expectation, now standing face to face, not as symbols but as soulmates. When their eyes met, it was as if centuries of royal protocol melted away. The cameras zoomed in, her lips trembled, his jaw clenched, holding back emotion. Even Queen Margrethe of Denmark, ever the pillar of discipline, wiped a tear discreetly behind her fan. Then came the music. A blend of Spanish guitar and Danish choral harmonies, an intentional fusion, symbolizing unity between two royal houses. As the vows began, Leonor's voice wavered. She started strong, steady. But halfway through, emotion broke through. Her words cracked. And in that instant, Spain itself seemed to break with her. Tears streamed down faces in the crowd. Even those who had doubted her readiness, her age, her choices, couldn't help but be moved. Because it wasn't the voice of a queen. It was the voice of a young woman who had lived under history's gaze and still found the courage to love. Then came an unexpected pause. After the exchange of rings, Leonor turned briefly toward her family, her parents, her sister Sophia, her grandmother Sophia, and simply smiled. But what followed wasn't applause. It was silence. Deep, reverent silence. Even the bells outside had stopped. It was as if time itself bowed. As if Spain collectively understood that it was witnessing not just a royal union, but a generational handover, the rise of a future monarch shaped by modern values, empathy, and quiet strength. In that stillness, Queen Letizia was seen clutching Philippe's hand tightly. Her eyes closed, her lips trembling with what could only be described as gratitude. Later, lip readers would analyze what she whispered. She's ready. Outside, thousands waited, eyes glued to massive screens. When the couple finally emerged, hand in hand, radiant under the cathedral arch, the crowd erupted in cheers that rolled through Madrid like thunder. Spain, for a brief moment, forgot its politics, its divisions, its uncertainties. All that existed was pride. And love. Children waved flags. Old veterans saluted. Some whispered prayers. Others simply smiled through tears, saying, "She's one of us." For the people, Leonor wasn't just the princess who married a prince. She was the young woman who had spoken openly about duty and sacrifice, who had trained at military academies, who had earned respect not by privilege, but by effort. And now, she had chosen love in full view of the world. As evening descended, the royal palace was transformed into a sea of lights. Golden chandeliers reflected in polished marble. Musicians tuned their instruments in hushed corners. Leonor and Christian's first dance became the emotional peak of the night. It wasn't extravagant, no rehearsed choreography or cinematic gestures. Just two people, holding each other as if nothing else existed. The song, a soft Spanish ballad her father had once dedicated to Queen Letizia on their wedding day. And when the melody reached its final note, Leonor laid her head on Christian's shoulder. And the entire hall stood. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. It was respect. It was recognition. It was love. Later that night, from the palace balcony, Leonor addressed the crowd. Her voice, though soft, carried through the city streets. The crowd answered not with noise, but with quiet pride. The kind that comes from witnessing history not on television, but in the soul. By morning, newspapers around the world echoed the same sentiment. And beyond the headlines, something had changed. In cafes and living rooms across Spain, families talked not of politics, but of possibility. Young women said, "She makes me proud to be Spanish." Elderly citizens smiled and said, "This is what monarchy should mean." Even those who were skeptical, those who saw the crown as outdated, admitted something undeniable. Princess Leonor had made them feel. As dawn broke over Madrid, the palace lights dimmed. Inside, Leonor stood alone for a moment, looking out at the city. The tiara now rested on a velvet cushion. Her wedding gown hung delicately behind her. And yet, she didn't look like a princess in that moment. She looked like a young woman aware of what awaited her: responsibility, expectation, legacy. She smiled faintly, whispering to herself the same words her father had told her as a child. Serve with love. Lead with heart. And as the first rays of sunlight kissed the palace walls, Spain knew its future was in good hands.